Have you ever thought about what happens when your body's best defense system makes a terrible mistake? Today, we're diving into Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. It's a rare but really serious condition where your immune system, the very thing meant to protect you, suddenly turns and attacks your own nerves. And when I say serious, I mean it. For every 20 people who get Guillain-Barré syndrome, one won't survive. It's a really stark number that tells you right away just how high the stakes are for patients and the doctors trying to save them. And even though it's rare, GBS has this pretty sobering title. It's actually the most common reason people experience sudden paralysis that isn't from some kind of injury, like a car crash. So yeah, it's a major medical challenge all around the world. Okay, so what does this actually look and feel like for a patient? Let's get into the clinical picture. It usually starts with something you might just brush off, like tingling in your toes. But then it escalates with terrifying speed. The key feature is this weakness that just takes over, and it happens on both sides of the body at the same time. A lot of patients first feel it in their feet and legs, and then, almost day by day, they can feel it creeping up their body, to their arms, their chest, and in the worst cases, even to the muscles that control their breathing. So this brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why does the body's own defense system suddenly decide to attack its own nerves? Well, funny enough, the answer usually traces back to a completely ordinary sickness that happened a few weeks earlier. For about 2/3 of all patients, they'll remember having a stomach bug or a bad cold right before the weakness started. And that's our first huge clue. GBS is what's called a post-infectious disease. The real battle begins after you think you've already recovered. You know, when you get sick, your immune system does exactly what it's supposed to do. It finds the invading germ and creates these tiny, specialized proteins called antibodies. They're like these little guided missiles designed to hunt down and destroy that one specific enemy. It's an incredible, life-saving process that's happening in all of us. But with Guillain-Barré, something goes horribly wrong. This brilliant defense system makes a critical error. The very antibodies that were made to protect you, they get confused. They look at your own nerve cells and mistake them for the enemy they were just fighting. It is a tragic case of mistaken identity. There's a scientific name for this, and it's called molecular mimicry. And honestly, it's the key to the whole thing. It happens when a piece of the germ looks, on a molecular level, almost exactly like a piece of your own body. So the immune system isn't trying to hurt you, it's just being tricked by this look-alike. It makes an antibody to fight the infection, but that antibody also happens to be a perfect fit for your own nerve cells. And this diagram shows it perfectly. So on the left, you've got a common bacteria. This one's called Campylobacter jejuni. Your body makes those Y-shaped antibodies to fight it. But look closely at the surface of that bacteria, and then look over at the nerve cell on the right. Because of those similar-looking little bits, the antibody gets confused. It latches onto the nerve, and that's what starts the attack that causes the paralysis. Okay, so you've got a patient getting weaker by the hour. For doctors, solving this mystery is a real race against the clock. Well, it's not one single thing. They're looking for a very specific pattern of clues that all point in the same direction.
It's really like putting a puzzle together. First, you have the patient's story. Were you sick recently? Then there's the physical exam. Is the weakness the same on both sides? And then, here's a huge one. They tap the patient's knee, and the reflex is just gone. That's a classic sign. Finally, a spinal tap often reveals the smoking gun. The fluid around the spine is packed with protein from the damaged nerves, but there are almost no immune cells. That combo is the classic signature of GBS.
So once the diagnosis is made, the race is on to fight back. Let's talk about treatment and what the road to recovery looks like. The entire goal here is to stop that friendly fire. You have to get the immune system to call off the attack on the body's own nerves. The hope is that if you can stop the assault, the body's own amazing ability to heal will kick in, and the nerves can start to repair themselves.
And there are two main ways doctors do this. The first is IVIG. You're basically flooding the patient's body with a huge dose of healthy antibodies from thousands of blood donors. These new antibodies kind of run interference and distract the patient's own misguided ones. The other option is plasma exchange, or PLEX. You can think of it like an oil change for your blood. They run the patient's blood through a machine that physically filters out the plasma. That's the part with all the bad antibodies, and replaces it.
Now here's the crucial part. Big studies have shown that both of these treatments work, and they work equally well. One is not better than the other. So the choice often just comes down to practical stuff, like what that specific hospital has available, or if there's something about the patient that makes one a slightly better option for them.
So, after all that, what happens? Well, the good news is that the vast majority of patients, about 80%, will eventually recover enough to walk on their own again. But it's not a perfect story for everyone. The recovery can take a very long time, and about 15% are left with a serious, lasting disability. And as we said at the beginning, about 5% of cases, or 1 in 20, are fatal. The treatments we have now are absolutely life-saving, but there's always room to get better. So let's take a quick look at what's next in GBS research. Researchers are working on some really cool, more targeted ideas. Instead of just flooding the whole system, they're looking at things like complement inhibitors, which block a very specific part of the attack. Others are testing enzymes that can just go in and destroy the bad antibodies super fast. And they're also looking for better biomarkers, things they can measure in the blood to see exactly how much damage is happening in real time.
When you boil it all down, GBS is a true paradox. It can be absolutely devastating. It can turn a person's life completely upside down in just a matter of days. But it's also a treatable disorder. With fast diagnosis and modern medicine, there is so much hope for recovery.
And that leaves us with this final, really fascinating question. GBS is a powerful reminder of the incredible, delicate balance inside our own bodies. Our immune system is our greatest protector, but as we've seen, it can also be our most dangerous foe. So the ultimate challenge is figuring out how we get all the benefits of its protection without ever becoming a victim of its mistakes.